The Invincible Armada. How the sea defeated an empire. In the year 1588, Spain stood at the peak of its power. It was the richest empire in the world. Its ships carried gold and silver from the Americas. Its armies dominated Europe, and its king, Philip II of Spain, believed that his mission was not only political, but divine. Across the sea stood England, a smaller nation, less wealthy, but openly defiant. England supported Spain's enemies, attacked Spanish ships, and rejected Catholic authority. At its head was Queen Elizabeth I, a Protestant ruler in a deeply divided Europe. To Philip II, England was a threat that could no longer be tolerated. So he made a decision that would change history. He would invade England. The planned Spain began assembling what would become known as the Spanish Armada, later remembered as the Invincible Armada. Around 130 ships, more than 30,000 men, massive galleons armed with heavy cannons, transport ships filled with soldiers, weapons, and supplies. The plan appeared flawless. The Armada would sail from Spain to the English Channel. There, it would link up with Spanish ground forces waiting in the Netherlands. Together, they would cross into England, overthrow Elizabeth I, and restore Catholic rule. Philip II was so confident that he barely involved himself in tactical details. He believed God would guarantee victory. In May 1588, the Armada set sail. Trouble at sea problems began almost immediately. Violent storms in the Bay of Biscay battered the fleet. Several ships were damaged. Supplies were lost. Morale began to weaken. Some commanders urged delay, but Philip II refused to abandon the mission. The Armada pressed on. By July, the Spanish fleet appeared off the coast of England, an overwhelming sight on the horizon. England was ready. England's advantage. The English navy was smaller. It had fewer ships and fewer soldiers, but it had two crucial advantages. First, speed. English ships were lighter and more maneuverable. Second, strategy. While Spanish ships were designed for close combat and boarding, English captains focused on long-range artillery. They avoided direct engagement and attacked from a distance. For days, English ships harassed the Armada, firing cannons and retreating before Spain could respond effectively. The Spanish formation held, but barely. No decisive victory was achieved by either side. Then, England made a bold move. Fire in the night. Under cover of darkness, the English launched fire ships. Old vessels were filled with flammable materials, set ablaze, and sent drifting toward the anchored Armada. The sight was terrifying. Fearing explosions, Spanish crews panicked. They cut their anchor cables and scattered to escape the flames. The Armada's tight defensive formation collapsed. At dawn, the English attacked. The Battle of Gravelines. Near the coast of Gravelines, the two fleets clashed again. This time, the Spanish were vulnerable. English cannons inflicted heavy damage. Spanish ships struggled to regroup. Supplies ran low. Ammunition was nearly exhausted. The invasion plan was now impossible. The Armada had no choice but to retreat. But returning home would prove far more dangerous than advancing. The deadly return. Unable to sail back through the English Channel, the Armada was forced north, around Scotland, then down past Ireland. This route was unfamiliar. The ships were damaged. The weather turned hostile. Massive storms struck the fleet. Winds tore sails apart. Waves smashed ships against cliffs. Entire vessels vanished into the sea. Thousands of sailors drowned. Those who reached land often faced a grim fate. Some were captured. Others were killed by local forces. Few ever returned home. By the time the remnants of the Armada reached Spain, the truth was undeniable. The Invincible fleet was broken. The aftermath, out of approximately 130 ships, fewer than 70 returned. Spain lost not only ships and soldiers, but prestige. The myth of Spanish invincibility was destroyed. England celebrated a victory that reshaped its future. Queen Elizabeth I addressed her troops, declaring that although she had the body of a weak and feeble woman, she possessed the heart and stomach of a king. From this moment on, England began its rise as a global naval power. Spain would never fully recover its dominance at sea. The meaning of the Armada later, a phrase would summarize the event. God blew, and they were scattered. The defeat of the Armada reminds us of a timeless truth. Even the greatest empires, the strongest armies, and the most confident plans can be undone by forces beyond human control. Sometimes history is not decided by generals or kings. Sometimes it is decided by the wind and the sea.